Hi, I'm Gwendolyn Young, and I'm president of Young Communications Group. And that's a public relations agency that I started a long time ago, 29 years ago, way before most of you were born. And it really, what that is and what we do is we help companies and organizations and places like schools and hospitals and even churches get their message out so that, for example, if you were to pick up a newspaper right now, and there's a lot of information about the health crisis that we're in, about COVID-19, we're the people who help to explain that, to write the articles that tell you how that you have to make sure that you stay 6 feet apart and that you wash your hands and that. So we're not the people who end up being in the newspaper. So I'm not the writer who goes in the newspaper, but I'm the one behind the scenes. When the president stands out there, even though I've not worked for the president, I don't want you to think that. But when an organization stands out there like the head of a hospital and says, these are the things you have to do, and this is why you have to do it, I'm usually the kind of person who's written that for an organization, for a company, for a school, like I said, or a big institution. And it's really kind of an exciting job because I got into it, just to tell you really quickly, a funny story. When I was little, I used to always ask my mom why something happened. Why did she think the way she did? Why couldn't we go to the store right now? Why did we have to put on our seatbelt? And she told me as a little person, you know what? You need to find a job where you can get paid to ask why. And I thought, does such a thing exist? And it does. That's the kind of work that I do. I get to ask why, I get to explain why, I get to tell people what it means, and then I get to tell them how they can be good at whatever it is they're trying to do. How do I get my messages out? That's a really good question. I think it starts like going back to that curiosity thing first. First, I have to understand what the message is. So let's try to think about this. Let's say that the message really is that it's important that you wash your hands on a regular basis, right? So the first thing I try to do is understand, what does regular basis mean? Because does that mean just when I wake up in the morning, or does that mean every time I pretty much touch something, right? And so once I find out what it is that you're trying to say, and really how do I define it so that people are really clear and they aren't confused, that's the first part about it. And then you have to think about, well, who needs to know this? Like, who would really need to know that they need to wash their hands a lot? Right now it's everybody, right? So it's not just young people, it's not just kids who are playing in the playground or picking their nose or whatever kids do. I know you guys don't do that anymore, but that kind of thing. But it's everybody if we're going to stop getting sick. So then it's who needs to know it. Then you try to figure out, well, how would they best get this information? And right now, obviously, the best way that we're telling anybody anything is how I'm talking to you now, through a video, through a camera, because we're not sitting together with a lot of people, right? So I'm learning how to actually talk to people more through the camera, even though, and this is a little bit that I wasn't asked, I actually started off as an on-camera person. So I was that person on the nightly news who was sitting behind the desk giving the news. But I left that, early on in my career because I was just not as drawn to it as I thought I would be. But now I'm going back to using some of those same skills, being able to talk to people when I don't see them, being able to try to touch people even though, again, they're not sitting right here with me, and making sure I'm really clear on what I'm saying. So and my day, I'll tell you about my day. It's different every single solitary day. Which is what I love. I don't like routine. I don't like knowing when I get up in the morning that I'm going to do the same 5 things. So today, for example, I got up and I had to be on a call to talk to a new client, somebody I haven't worked with in the past. And the first thing I had to do is get to know that person. It's just like when you have a new friend and you need to find out what their favorite movie is and what they like to eat. So that's kind of what I was doing this morning, even though that's not specifically what I was working on. And then after I finished that call, Then I had another client. I work for a large transportation company here in Los Angeles. So all the buses, all the trains, all of that, we do the communications, and we're helping people remember that it's safe to get back on the bus and on the train. So then I had to talk to them and hear all about what they're going through, and that they need more money, and then how do you get more money, and how do you get more passengers. So those are the, I get to solve all these problems all day long. And at the end of the day, for me, this end of this day will be probably about 7 o'clock. And I'll be on a call just listening to a group of people as they talk about sort of what they want to do next in their career, because we're helping them decide some career options. Sometimes people try to talk about it being a straight line and a smooth path. Mine really wasn't a straight line, and it wasn't really a smooth path. As I said, my mom wanted me to find something where I could ask the question why. And my dad wanted me to be an engineer. So here I had these kind of pulls on both sides. And when I was growing up, there weren't very many people who looked like me doing this kind of work. I wasn't really encouraged in school to go and get my degree in journalism or in communications. They were kind of trying to steer me in another direction. So I had to kind of fight to stand up for myself and say, no, this is what I want to do. They didn't really think perhaps that I had enough of the formal education in writing, because that's the foundation of everything that I do, is to be a really good writer. And I had to really work hard and prove myself to that. So my path was not really that smooth in the beginning. But the best thing probably is something like what you all are doing, is I had some people who really believed in me. I had some really good teachers who really encouraged me. And when I was kind of down and thought, people are saying I can't do this, they would say, yes, you can do it. And if you don't succeed the first couple of times, just keep going, because I had this drive. So I had really good teachers like that. And I had some early employers who really helped me along the way, who kind of guided me and told me, how do you present yourself better? Because, sometimes you get discouraged, or you may doubt yourself, which I was beginning to do. And they were kind of like, no, keep going, you can do this. So that was my path. And at the end of all of that, like I said, I tried different things. I worked in hospitals. I used to work in hospitals for years and years and years. That's what I did, doing public relations. And I worked for nonprofit organizations, and I worked for big corporations, a bank, which I did not like, until I found my way to owning my own business. So my field is, one, to make sure I own my own company. So there's one is being a business owner, and the other is being a business owner who has a degree in journalism. So that communications and English is what I use a lot. But what I would say for girls who are thinking about going into my field, whether it's as the business side of it, or it's that you want to be a journalist, is really take a lot of writing courses, a lot of writing classes. Be really good at using whichever language is your language, whether your first language is Spanish or Mandarin Chinese or some other language or English. Really learn how to use it, learn how to write very well. Then I would say what I said before about the why, that translates into having a curiosity. For the kind of work that I do, you have to be curious about all kinds of industries and all kinds of things and how they work and why do they work, and have an analytical mind. And then I think that's really important for girls, no matter what you do. I think it's good for us to support each other, to really help each other, look out for each other, encourage each other to really try things. The last thing I would say, and this doesn't necessarily apply directly to my business right now, but I would suggest that you take math, because I'm always having to call my accountant and ask her, and my accountant is a woman, and ask her questions. And sometimes I feel like those are pretty basic. I should know that. So I wish I had taken a little bit more math courses, business math when I was in school.